The Dust Bowl drought was in its fourth year. Between Memphis and Vicksburg, the water fell 23 feet below the summer average. Barges grounded, ferries shut down. In places, the riverbed lay open to the sky. On August 14th, a farmer named Earl Landry from Issaquena County, Mississippi, walked out onto the exposed riverbed opposite his cotton field to collect fish from drying pools. He went about 300 yards from the bank across mud and wet sand. Then the mud ended. Landry stepped onto stone, not a boulder, not a bedrock ledge. A flat stone surface, level, hard, extending ahead. He crouched and cleared the silt with his hands. Under 4 to 5 inches of river sediment lay a road. Stone slabs fitted together, laid in rows, with drainage channels cut along the edges. The road ran across the riverbed perpendicular to the current, from the western bank toward the eastern. Landry walked 200 feet along it, clearing silt with his boots. The surface was continuous. The slabs were not river-polished cobbles, they were dressed rectangular with beveled joints. Landry went back to shore and brought his wife and 2 neighbors. By evening on August 14th, 11 people were standing on the bottom of the Mississippi River. By morning on the 15th, more than 40. Word had spread overnight. People came with shovels and cleared the silt. By midday, 400 feet of road were visible. It did not end. It continued in both directions under the remaining water. On August 16th, a truck from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers arrived. 2 officers walked down to the road, examined it, photographed it, and returned to the bank. On August 17th, the Corps opened the sluice gates of a dam upstream. The water arrived in 6 hours. By morning on the 18th, the road was under 12 feet of river. Landry stood on the bank and watched the water rise. He told his grandchildren that the strangest thing was not that a road was lying on the bottom of the Mississippi. The strangest thing was how fast they put the water back. Subscribe now if this matters to you. The algorithm does not push this, so unless you subscribe, the next one will not find you. The Mississippi River between Memphis and Vicksburg runs through what geologists call the Lower Mississippi Alluvial Valley, a floodplain up to 80 miles wide, built from sediment deposited over tens of thousands of years. The river has shifted course repeatedly within this valley, migrating east and west, leaving behind oxbow lakes, abandoned channels, and buried meander scars. The sediment beneath the current channel is deep. Core samples taken by the Corps of Engineers throughout the 20th century show river-deposited sand, silt, and clay extending 40 to 60 feet below the riverbed before hitting older Pleistocene deposits. Below that is the Cretaceous bedrock, chalk and clay laid down when the region was a shallow sea. There is no geological reason for dressed stone to exist at any depth within the river channel. The alluvial deposits are unconsolidated sediment. The bedrock is marine. Neither contains building material, and neither was formed by any process that produces rectangular slabs with drainage channels. In 1927, 9 years before Landry's discovery, the Mississippi produced the most destructive flood in American history, inundating 27,000 square miles and displacing 700,000 people. After 1927, the Corps began the most ambitious river control project in history: levees, floodways, and dams designed to keep the Mississippi in its banks. By 1936, the system was partially in place. The dam whose gates the Corps opened on August 17th was part of that system. It had the capacity to raise the river level at the Issaquena County site by 12 feet within hours. The Corps used that capacity to reflood a section of river that had exposed something on the bottom that was not supposed to be there. They had the infrastructure to drown the road back, and they used it within 48 hours of learning it existed. The road is described in detail by 3 sources: a handwritten account by Landry himself given to a local historian in 1954, a letter written by Landry's neighbour, a man named Wallace Hebert, to his brother in Baton Rouge on August 19, 1936, 5 days after the discovery, and testimony from a woman named Odette Thibodeau, who was 14 years old in 1936 and walked on the road with her father. Thibodeau gave a recorded oral history to a Vicksburg museum in 1998. All 3 accounts agree on the structural details. The road surface was made of dressed stone slabs, roughly 2 feet by 3 feet, laid in staggered rows like brickwork. The slabs were between 4 and 6 inches thick. They were a dark grey stone that none of the witnesses recognized as local. The river bottom in Issaquena County is alluvial mud and sand. There is no source of dressed stone within the floodplain. The slabs fit tightly together with narrow joints, and the joints were not grouted but cut so precisely that the fit held without mortar. Along both edges of the road, drainage channels approximately 6 inches wide and 4 inches deep were cut into the outermost slabs. The channels ran the full length of the exposed road and were clearly designed to carry water off the surface. Thibodeau, in her 1998 account, added a detail the other 2 sources do not mention. She said her father knelt on the road and put his ear to the surface. He told her he could feel a hollow space beneath the slabs. He tapped with the heel of his boot, and the sound was not solid. It was resonant, like tapping on the lid of a box. The road was not laid directly on the riverbed. It was laid on something, and that something had space inside it. Whatever is beneath the road has never been reached. The silt covered it again within hours. By August 15th, the road had become the largest unplanned gathering in Issaquena County that decade. Farmers, sharecroppers, their wives and their children walked onto the riverbed from both banks. Some came with shovels and hoes, some came with cameras. At least 6 photographs were taken on August 15th and 16th by people in the crowd. 3 of those photographs survive. One belongs to the Hebert family and shows a section of the road with a man standing on it for scale, the fitted slabs clearly visible beneath a thin film of water and silt. Another, held by a private collector in Jackson, shows the drainage channel along one edge of the road, the cut stone unmistakable. The third, owned by a descendant of Landry, shows the road stretching into the distance along the riverbed, disappearing under water at both ends, the width estimated at 12 to 14 feet. None of the photographs have been published. None have been submitted to any institution. The families kept them because the families remembered what happened next. An elderly man from the eastern bank, whose name no account recorded, brought a pry bar and attempted to lift one of the slabs. He could not. The stone was too heavy and the fit too tight. But he managed to insert the bar into a joint and lever the edge up approximately 2 inches. Hebert, who was standing beside him, looked into the gap. In his letter to his brother, Hebert wrote that beneath the slab there was a space approximately 8 inches deep, and that the underside of the slab was as smooth and finished as the top. Below the space was a second surface, also smooth, also stone. The road was not one layer, it was at least 2, separated by a hollow cavity, the same cavity that Thibodeau's father had heard when he tapped the surface. 2 layers of finished stone, with an engineered gap between them, lying on the bottom of the largest river in North America. The Army Corps of Engineers had a permanent station at Vicksburg, 30 miles downstream. The station tracked river levels, sediment and navigation. Word of the road reached them on August 15th. On the 16th, a Corps truck arrived carrying 2 officers and a civilian engineer. The 3 men descended to the riverbed and spent approximately 90 minutes examining and photographing the road. Landry, who was present, said the officers measured the road width, the slab dimensions, and the depth of the drainage channels. The civilian engineer knelt and examined the joints between slabs. He took a sample of the stone by chipping a fragment from the edge of one slab with a geological hammer. Landry heard him say one sentence to the senior officer, which Landry repeated in his 1954 account. The engineer said, "This is not river stone. This was quarried." The officers nodded. They did not appear surprised. They collected their measurements, their photographs, and the stone sample, returned to their truck, and drove back toward Vicksburg. Landry expected them to return with a larger team. They did not return. What returned was water. On the morning of August 17th, the river began rising. By noon, the first slab was underwater. By evening, the road was covered. By the morning of August 18th, the water stood 12 feet above where Landry had walked 3 days earlier. The Corps operated 9 control structures on the lower Mississippi, capable of modulating flow. Opening the upstream gates during a drought, when every farmer downstream needed every drop of water for dying crops, was not a routine decision. It was a deliberate act that sacrificed downstream agricultural interests to raise water levels in a specific section of river. No operational log from the Vicksburg station for August 17, 1936 has ever been released. The Corps photographs from August 16th have never appeared in any public archive. A FOIA request in 2004 for all photographic documentation from the Vicksburg station for August 1936 returned 14 images. None show the riverbed site. The station log for that month records data for every day except 3, August 16th, 17th and 18th. 3 consecutive blanks in a log maintained daily without interruption from 1929 to 1978. The stone sample taken by the civilian engineer has never been referenced in any Corps geological report. Landry's account places the sample in the engineer's possession. The engineer's name does not appear in any surviving documentation from the Vicksburg station for that period. The 3 surviving civilian photographs have been examined by a geologist in 2012, who was shown them by the Hebert family on the condition that he not publish. The geologist confirmed that the stone in the photographs is not alluvial cobble and does not match any formation native to the lower Mississippi Valley. He described the visible slab pattern as consistent with Roman-era road construction techniques, specifically the layered structure of a via munita, a reinforced military road with a subbase, a core, and a dressed surface layer. He emphasized that he was describing the structural similarity, not claiming Roman origin, but the comparison was, in his words, the closest match in his professional vocabulary. A dressed stone road with drainage channels, a hollow sublayer, and 2-layer construction lying under 5 inches of silt on the bottom of the Mississippi River does not fit any model of pre-Columbian, colonial, or modern American infrastructure. It fits nothing, and the institution that found it, measured it, and photographed it made sure the water came back before anyone else could do the same. The Mississippi is not the only American river that has given something back during a drought. In 1934, 2 years before Landry's discovery, the Arkansas River near Tulsa, Oklahoma, dropped to record lows and exposed a section of fitted stonework on the riverbed that a bridge construction crew photographed before the water returned. The photographs were included in the construction company's project file and forgotten until a researcher found them in 2009 in a private engineering archive. The The stones show the same dressed rectangular slabs and narrow joints visible in the Mississippi Road. In 1956, the Colorado River downstream of Lake Powell dropped during a managed drawdown and revealed what a Bureau of Reclamation team described as a linear stone feature on the reservoir bed. They photographed it and noted it as a probable historical remnant. The photographs are referenced in an internal memo, but have not been located. In 1988, during a severe drought, the Missouri River near Bismarck, North Dakota, exposed a stone surface on the riverbed that local fishermen described as a floor. One fisherman told a newspaper reporter that the stones were flat, fitted, and covered in a thin layer of river silt. The newspaper ran a short item that attributed the feature to a collapsed bridge foundation. No bridge was ever recorded at that location. 3 rivers, 3 droughts, 3 stone surfaces that should not exist on the beds of rivers that have flowed for thousands of years. Each one was exposed briefly, documented minimally, and covered again when the water returned. The pattern is the same as the rooms inside mountains and the chambers beneath sinkholes. Something is under the surface of this continent, and the only time it becomes visible is when the water or the rock that has been hiding it is temporarily removed. The standard geological model says the Mississippi has occupied its current lower valley for approximately 10,000 years, since the end of the Wisconsin glaciation redirected the river's flow southward. Before that, the drainage pattern was different. The river's course has shifted many times within the valley, but the valley itself has been a river system for longer than any human civilization in the official record. A paved road lying on the bottom of the river means one of 2 things. Either the road was built underwater, which no known civilization has done, or the road was built before the river was there, which means the river is younger than the road. If the river is younger than the road, then the road was built on dry land that later became the bed of the largest river system in North America. The geological event that would place a river on top of a road is not small. It is a catastrophic reorganization of continental drainage, the kind of event that the standard model places at the end of the last ice age. The road, if it predates the river, was built before that reorganization, before 10,000 years ago, on a landscape that no longer exists, in a geography that was erased when the ice melted and the rivers found their current paths. The geologist who examined the Herbert family photographs in 2012 said one thing that Landry, 80 years earlier, had already understood without the vocabulary to express it. He said, "Roads don't end up under rivers. Rivers end up on top of roads." The Mississippi did not bury the road. The Mississippi was the burial. The river itself is the cover, and it has been flowing over the evidence for 10,000 years. Earl Landry walked 300 yards onto the Mississippi riverbed on August 14, 1936, and found a road that should not exist. Hebert saw 2 layers of stone with a hollow space between them. Thibodeau's father put his ear to the surface and heard something underneath. A Corps engineer said the stone was quarried. 2 officers photographed it. The next day the water came back so fast that 40 people had less than a day before the river reclaimed its secret. The photographs the Corps took have never surfaced. The station log for those 3 days is blank. The stone sample has disappeared. The operational logs that would show who ordered the gates opened have not been released. But 3 civilian photographs survive, 3 written accounts survive, and the road survives, under 12 feet of water and 5 inches of silt, in the same place it has been since before the Mississippi existed. Droughts are cyclical. The Mississippi dropped in 1936. It dropped in 1988. It dropped in 2012 to levels that nearly matched 1936. Each time the river falls, the riverbed comes closer to air. Each time, the road comes closer to being seen again. The next drought severe enough to expose the Issaquena County riverbed is not a question of if, it is a question of when. And when it happens, the road will be there. The slabs will still be fitted. The drainage channels will still be cut. The hollow layer beneath will still resonate when someone taps the surface. The difference is that next time, the people standing on it will not have only 3 cameras between 40 of them,